सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। We are in the 6th chapter, 6th mantra. So please repeat after me. Indriyanam pratakbhavam udayastamayau chayat पृथक् उत्पद्यमानानां मत्वा धीरो न शोचति। So summing up the thought of what has been taught so far for the entire Upanishad is being, that is the start of the 6th mantra. After listening to the greater lengths and depths of this Upanishad, one might feel, what is the take home? It is something very, I at least get very irritated when after having spoken for 1 hour, 1.5 hours, at the end in question answers, if there is a question answers. So you spoke for 1.5 hours, what is the take home message, Swamiji? 1.5 hours I have been screaming. Whichever has really clicked within, take that as a home message. So after listening to the Upanishad, if we are trying to, because too much of data is given, where do I start? What is my starting point? What kind of sadhana should I be starting? So here he says, Indriyanam prathak bhavam udayastamayau chayat prathak utpadyamananam matva dhiro na sochati. Indriyaha, the organs, or indriyanam. Prathak bhavam, start from disidentifying and disassociating oneself to be behaving as the indriyas. And he also says, not just the indriyas, but their different formats of extension, udaya astamayo chayat. Sometimes they function in certain pattern, sometimes they function in a different pattern. It keeps changing, it keeps fluctuating. Disidentify from all layers of the indriyas and their modifications. What could be the modifications of the Indriyas? The respective field of objects that the Indriyas are involved in, that also we have to get disidentified from. So the disidentification with the world outside can happen with a very strong Vairagya Bhava. Vairagya Bhava, I would like to translate it in my own words as a high utilitarian perspective. Meaning, if it is not needed, you don't need to be craving for it. If it is not required, if it is required, you make use of it and then finally conclude with it and move forward. But when we behave in this world, we have developed set patterns, and these patterns are the one which are like a cocoon around us, which block us from evolving. So first start from there. Have Vairagya for the world of objects. Now, having Vairagya for the world of objects is not an effort, is a result. Result of what? Result of understanding that I am not a dependable variable on these different objects of perception that I perceive through my organs of perception. I use them, definitely. I am not averse to them, because in the name of Vairagya, what we do is create aversion. They have said that I have to have Vairagya for this world, hence therefore, if I see something, if I taste something, smell something, I have to keep myself away from it, tied down. No, that is not what Vairagya means. So Vairagya is a result of what? Result of my understanding that I am not bound by these materialistic world. I am not cutting myself away, but I am just disassociating. So that when necessary, I know when to use it or how to use it. When not necessary, I can stay away from them. I don't become the slave of the material world. The first step. The second step is the Indriyas by themselves have to be maintained under certain strict discipline. Again, whose Indriyas? My own Indriyas. Because somehow I have observed, when I am talking to the parents, the first thing they would say, they think about it and say, how do I make sure that my children apply this? Who is talking about your children? We are talking about us. If you are convinced and you have it in your day-to-day action with clarity, you don't need to convince your children. They learn it through osmosis. So first apply it here on the self. Utmost discipline, wherein the Indriyas are maintained on a certain trend, a certain path. While we are trying to maintain that discipline, it appears very painful. It also seems like, is it worth all this? But life with its shocks and surprises, when it throws us off the balance, that is when we find that a disciplined system is handy. I keep using this example is on the street, on the road dividers, there are these studs. There are white color ones, yellow color ones, red color ones. There are some which are blue color. Have you noticed them? So the blue color ones are the ones which are corresponding to the nearest fire hydrant. When should that fire hydrant be placed? Not after the fire is caught. Before, it has to go into that planning. So they have put lot of effort in creating it to be in its place. Similarly, discipline comes handy only when we see it as handy, only when we see that life is totally thrown off balance. To get back quickly into that balance, discipline helps. So maintain that organs of perception and action in strict discipline. Detach from the outside world. And then he says in the second line, Pruthak utpadyamananam matva dhiraha na shochati. And you can clearly, distinctly see that I am not the body, mind and intellect. How can I be that which the body, mind and intellect is interacting with the world outside? Meaning, create the disidentification of this body as a priority in life. I am not saying that you have to neglect the body. There are people who take it, wrongly apply it. 4 or 5 years ago, there was one of them who was coming to the lectures one winter. And after the lecture is done, I was working with saving the files. So that individual came by and said, Swamiji, I have doubts. I have questions to ask. I said, okay, ask. No, they are very lengthy ones. So start at least. Whenever it will finish, it will finish. So as he was speaking, then I saw that, the hands and legs and the face, because seeing from the close quarters, was all cracking up, because of the winter season. So I just observed, kept quiet. So it continued back to my living quarters. So he continued there and kept asking. The first thing I said, stop asking questions. Here is the moisturizer. Go into the bathroom. Even if the bottle is finished, it is fine. Soak yourself into it. No, Swami, this is my disciplining to disidentify from the body. He was a Tamilian. I said, Mannagati Mangatu. Go. Go change and apply this properly. And suddenly there is sickness. I don't take medicines. Why? I am doing tapascharya. Taking medicines is also prarabdha. You don't understand the language of prarabdha. Taking medicines is tapascharya now. No, we should not do himsa on the body. That is not what is meant by here. Whatever is required, whatever is the need, that need is provided for. But not the pampering extent. No pampering. If food is required, provide food. Kshut vyadhischa chikitsyatam. To the disease of hunger, food is the medicine. Provide that food. Now, while you are eating that food, sometimes there will be salt more, no salt, or sometimes it will be spicy, sometimes no spicy. Without complaining, eat. In fact, that is the best place to start maunam. While eating food, don't talk. However the food is, gulp it down. It is cold. What to do? It has been served and you are on your computer. You kept saying that I'll come in 10 minutes, I'll come in few minutes, I'll come in few minutes. It thanda ho gaya. Ab khao. Whatever comes, keep that as tapasya, keep that as a discipline. Not eating food, that is not a discipline. Body requires food, don't stretch it too far and thin. In fact, I would say tapascharya is to maintain a strict regiment. Morning 7:30 breakfast, rain or shine. Afternoon 12:30 lunch, rain or shine. Maybe if you have a habit of 3:30 or 4 o'clock, a little dose of caffeine, whether it is ekakshari or dvayakshari. Ekakshari is tea, dvayakshari is coffee. Whatever it is, have that at that time. Dinner time, whatever it is, 7:30, 8:30 or 9 o'clock, whenever it is, keep that discipline. To maintain discipline, but not to neglect or punish the body, but disidentify from the body. I am feeling lethargic. Who is feeling lethargic? The mind is feeling lethargic, the body is not cooperating. Whip it into action. If it is a responsibility that you have to fulfill, whip it into action. After a day's hard work, give it a good rest. I mean, like you tend to various things. Maintenance is an important part. Maintain it. After what, 6 months or 5 months, you have to change the oil? I don't know, how many months? Car. 3,000 miles. Okay. That is more a definite figure. So 3,000 miles you change the oil. Every once a year, the entire top to bottom, overall checkup. Maintain it. So that it will give you good mileage, longevity, and it is trustworthy. If it takes to rotate the tires, you have to rotate the tires, you have to change the tires, whatever it takes to maintain it. Oh, I have spent 30,000 on it. I have to maintain it. Do you think this is not valuable? It is equally valuable. Do not neglect it. At the same time, do not pamper it. The idea being, disidentifying from the body is the highest priority for a sadhaka. At least, while you are sitting on the seat of contemplation or meditation, start from there. Once you close your eyes, you are still attached to this body. Where will the mind be reflecting on? Today my knee pain, I tell you, it is so bad. So what upasana are you doing? Ghutnopasana. Ghut ke maroge. Ghutna means knee. Or if there was something disturbing in the office or something disturbing in the family, why? Why did they have to do it? Why this? Why do I? You're constantly contemplating only on that. Disidentify from the body totally. That is the idea. Such person, matva, dhiraha na shochati. Once we train ourselves to that level, such individual transcends shoka, grief, transcends miseries. It does not mean to indicate or say that there will be no miseries in life. I tell you, if there is somebody sitting on a high platform trying to teach or sell you the point that I have a technique so that you will never be miserable or there will be no miseries in your life, khade khade ullu bana raha hai apne ko. Nobody can promise us that. There will be challenging, there will be overwhelming situations. Such individual knows how to handle them and not succumb to them. Matva dhiro na shochati. So after the sharira, the grossest level is said, what is the next stage? How do we increase? How do we grow? So that is said in the next 2 mantras. We will chant them together. Repeat after me. Indriyebhyah param manaha Manasa sattvam-uttamam sattvad-adhimahanatma mahato vyaktam-uttamam avyaktattu parah purushaha vyapako linga evacha yam jnatva muchyate jantuhu amrutatvam cha gacchati. My request to all of you who are listening to this, write these two mantras down, memorize them. Why? It is a good, handy checkpoint. You know, when they check the cars and other things, they have the 33-point check or something. Similarly here, in our sadhana, in our day-to-day abhyasa, there is a good checking list. So if we memorize it and keep it handy, whenever we are troubled, visit back to these two mantras, it will tell us where we are going wrong. Indriyebhyaha param manaha. Subtler than the indriyas is the mind. Manasaha sattvam-uttamam. See, sattva, the intellect is called sattva. Why is the intellect called sattva? When Paramatma was doing the panchikarana, the grossification of the 5 elements, the sattvic aspect of the grossification went into the formation of antakarana. Subtlest of all the antakaranas is the intellect, the most sattvic. Hence, therefore, in many parts of our scripture, whenever they say, they use the word sattva, it is directly indicating towards the intellect. Why? It is made of the most sattvic nature. That is another amazing aspect. We will come back to that. Because he has given sattvic, the most sattvic. Is it sattvic? It is not sattvic. We have made it tamasic. Sattvad-adhimahanatma. Subtler than the sattva, the intellect. Mahan Atma is the jiva. Superior to the Mahan Atma, avyaktam uttamam. The unmanifest is subtler than all these which are stated so far. Subtler than the avyakta is that Purusha. Why is he called Purusha? Here Adi Shankaracharya ji does a brilliant job in defining Purusha. He says, Purnatvat Purusha. It is not based on gender, Purusha, Stri. Women lib don't take out an action against Yamaraja. You are going against the wrong person. Purusha means the most complete, comprehensive. Vyapako alinga evacha. All pervading and attributeless. Alinga, that which does not have any attributes. So any word that we can define this Purnatva, as Gurudev puts it very beautifully, defining Paramatma is defiling Paramatma. We can never ever define Alinga Evacha. Why are we searching for this? There are some people, they have this strange logic. Why should I be listening to all these kinds of, Shruti? Why should I be doing sadhana? Maybe I am supposed to be like this. Maybe I am supposed to be unhappy. Maybe I am supposed to be... See, without anybody teaching us what is the purpose of life, are we not searching for peace, contentment, satisfaction and happiness? Are we searching for the contrary? Never ever. And nobody has taught us that. Right since they are small children. If something is not going well with them, they either throw up or they have the best wireless gadget. Wherever that mother is, drop everything and run. Sometimes the mothers are intelligent. They alone know why the child is crying. See, for everything there is only one call, one kind of call. The mother has to figure out whether it is a hunger cry or stomach upset cry or something, pinching, troubling. What kind of a cry it is? Even the child knows. Why are we having it as a natural calling to have that we are seeking? Because that is our own true nature. In order to understand, in order to reach, in order to be our own self, be the core of our own being, where do we start? Indriya. So at the Indriya level, as we discussed in the earlier mantra, the first step would be discipline them. See, in this very Upanishad, earlier chapter we had seen Sadashva iva or Dushtashva iva. The Indriyas are like the horses. If the horses yoked are not well trained, well disciplined, what will happen to that chariot? It will be like the Bombay experience. Do you remember my example? Which example, Swami? Every day you give so many examples. So we were sitting in the chariot. It was a long time desire. It turned out to be a very hilarious, funny experience. So the guy, he said, "Baithiye sahab," and we had ice cream, popcorn, and the chariot, when that whole thing, buggy, will go a couple of feet forward, and then the horse would stop, and this fellow would get down and then dance in front of that horse, and then come back, sit, the horse will move forward. So out of curiosity I asked, "Bhaiya, roz aise karte ho? Every day?" He said, "Nahi sahab ji, the horse that I have has fallen sick. So I borrowed my brother-in-law's horse, which was anyway there, and his horse is usually taken to the marriage processions. So what is the discipline that the horse got into? See, the marriage procession, and the boy is sitting on the horse and the horse is going. Every 2 steps or 3 steps the horse stops. Why? People are dancing, and then so it got used to that kind of a pattern, that unless somebody dances for it, it will not move forward. Conditioning. So the horse has to be disciplined into a right pattern. Similarly, our indriyas have to be disciplined. The mind has to be channelized. Most of us struggle trying to control the mind. The more we try controlling the mind, you will find that the mind is becoming a very terrible instrument, that it is throwing everything into imbalance and chaos. The mind has to be channelized. So what do we have to do? First, try to find what texture of mind do we have. I mean, as a broader sense. Different times of day, how our mind functions. What is the texture at different times? Different environments, what is the texture of my mind? Our mind also changes, the texture also changes. So various circumstances, observe the mind before start working on it, before, nobody wants to work all this directly. Swami, meditation. मजाक हो गया सबको. See, before you start poking around meditation, there is a lot to fix. So first understand the texture of that mind at every single level, at every single interaction, different time frames, different patterns. Understand the mind. Then once you have understood that mind and its patterns, then all those which are unwilled, unnecessary thoughts, weed them out. How do you weed them out? Not by trying to force them out or suppress them, but instead substitute something nobler. And that is the best way to get rid of the unnecessary, unwilled thoughts. And the best way to substitute, and the best marga is Namasmarana. Do it consciously, not mechanically. As soon as there is an unwanted pattern that you are seeing, you are gathering wool unnecessarily, become conscious. And then introduce the japa, instead of fighting with that thought, replace it, substitute it with a noble thought. When you have grown conscious, alert, vigilant of our own mind, see, our job is not to throttle that mind and completely annihilate that mind. What we have to annihilate, we have to understand. It is the unwilled thoughts and their unnecessary presence is what has to be weeded out. Then the mind becomes alert and available. And that accessible mind has to be channelized. So we have to understand our own mind. So in order to understand the mind, what do we need? We need a stable, full of clarity, full of conviction, the intellect. See, the way we are, intellect is a seat wherein it functions according to conditions or conditionings. We have conditioned our intellect to think in a certain pattern, to have ideas in a certain pattern. Break those concepts. If need be, plow the entire intellect, resurface it, and re-educate the intellect into a right direction. And there are some deep convictions that we live with. Identify those convictions. Work one by one on each conviction. These conditionings which turn into convictions, which do not allow us to grow, such conditionings have to be shattered. See, why is it that then when there is a deep impact of miserable, sorrowful experience, that suddenly the mind craves for a spiritual environment? When you have been shattered from within, all concepts, all convictions are broken up. It is easier to mold that intellect. Otherwise, we go through series of Upanishad after Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, chapter after chapter, Brahma Sutras, another bhara of data. Because those convictions are not broken, those convictions have to be broken. Some have to be repaired. Some have to be revisited and find the value and nourish it back. Strengthen that intellect to have conviction and clarity. One by one. Start from the indriyas, grow to the mind, grow from mind to the intellect. And then understand what is the nature of this jiva. Until we reach to this level of accessibility of mind and clarity and intellect, thinking about jiva, it will only lead to further loops of confusion. But once having gotten that clarity, then sit, meditate on the nature of that jiva. Take the support of various scriptures. Identify what makes that jiva's existence appear real. How can that jivatva is again bundle of concepts put together, which further boil down to convictions. How do we dilute and evaporate all these different convictions which solidify the jivatva? This is where meditation has to be intensified. When we have taken care of disciplining the indriyas, channelizing the mind, enriching and empowering the intellect towards clarity and conviction, then sit on the seat of meditation. It will be a flawless experience. But otherwise, sitting on the seat of meditation, I don't know, they asked me to close my eyes, I'm closing my eyes, but it may appear that I am making a very trivial statement. This is what happens in meditation classes. What are they doing? Closing their eyes and why? The mind is vacant. After closing eyes, then what? It has never been into that environment. And even if the instructions are given, cannot grasp, because it is not available. The indriyas are not available, the mind is not available, the intellect is not available. Subtler than this jivatva is the next stage, avyaktam uttamam. Avyakta is otherwise translated as Hiranya Garbha, the totality. Now once we understand the individuality, then we can bring any seeming change into the totality. If I have not grasped the individuality, if I have not grasped it at the individual level, at the vyashti level, samashti is a vague concept. All these various jivas and their various impressions all pulled together, samashti vasana. All these jivas are guided by, ruled by one factor of Ishwaratva. To understand the grand scheme of various things that are happening around. And after understanding, not reacting or not revolting, but accepting, tuning ourselves to that samashti and working accordingly, functioning accordingly. Once we transcend this mind, intellect and the jiva bhava, we transcend the totality also. It is at this stage of identification of totality when people start experiencing various, I wouldn't say magic, because a magician can produce from the hat only stupid little things. They'll take out colorful ribbons. They'll take out those sparkles that will fly out. They'll take out those feather roses, different colors. Yeah, that is magic. Here is what they say, Ashta Siddhi, Navanidhi. Once you have the mastery over or tuning towards that identification to that totality, which in a very simple format, I would say, you get the mastery over material. That you can change any material to any format, you can change any energy to material or material to energy. It is at this stage that the matter doesn't matter. That you can really start manipulating matter. And it is not an abnormality. Then the intelligent ones. So if these Mahatmas have that kind of power, why can't they go to places and create food? Or why can't they take out misery of everybody if it is that easy from that totality standpoint? One thing that they do not mess with is the karma chakra, both at the individual level as well as at the samashti level. They may use this to guide different people so that they can handle their own individual level and grow. But they would never mess with the cycle of karma. Never ever. Do they have these capacities? Yes. There is one great book. I am sure many of you sitting here would have read that book. Do you know what book I am referring to? Good. Autobiography of a Yogi. A very intense book. Very beautifully laid out. So when such things happen, if you are open to understanding those things, yes, those things are happening day to day. But it is still in this very world of plurality. It is not an ultimate stage either. Where can all these tamasha function? In this plurality. Instead of being identified with the individuality, they are identified with the totality. Still there is that identification. This is when meditation has to intensify further, wherein we transcend. Once somebody asked Gurudev, and Gurudev said, Gurudev was asked, Swamiji, do you have such miracles? He said, neither I have, nor those who follow me, I will allow them to have. I said, why? Because it is a trap. Once we get entrapped, our entire sadhana bala, shakti, is drained. For somebody who has realized it, may come down to the totality level, identify with it and manipulate it. But when the cycle is of growing to go beyond the totality, get identified with it, you get stuck with it, to transcend that enamoring field, very difficult. Swamiji, do you have such miracles? Gurudev was asked. He said, I know the only miracle is to use this moment effectively and efficiently. If you care to know about it, I am ready to teach it. And his answers were always like that. Can you predict the future? He said, no. But I can tell you how to use the present moment so that you can, take care of your future. Do you do any kundalini or some kind of, I don't twist the body, but I like to straighten the mind. Very clear cut. In that intensity, once that totality is crossed, meaning the individuality drops, the reference point of totality also drops. So basically you are not trying to transcend the totality, you are just trying to transcend the individuality. The moment you totally transcend the individuality, the reference point, which is when the totality is with reference to the individual. Once the individual is dropped, the totality is also dropped. Then what we experience, Purushaha, Purnatva. How is that experience? So various rishis have given various techniques. And the first thing that they say, Ashabdam asparsham arupavacha. Where does this come from, Swamiji? Kathopanishad. We have seen that mantra earlier. Ashabdam, you cannot put it in words. After having said that, you cannot put it in words. You cannot generate a thought about it. Then what description can we give? It can only be experienced. How will I know when I reach there? Conductor rahega, he'll ask you to get down at that stop, you will know. How do you know that your stomach is full? You will know when you have reached there, right? And that is why most of us, when we get up, we say, Aaj bhi jyada kha liya. Today also I ate too much. Why? You knew what was the point and you just crossed it. Yam jnatva muchyate jantuhu amritatvam cha gacchati. Knowing this sequence, working meticulously at the step that you are, and growing from there sincerely. Don't jump for the grapes that you can't catch. Start with those which you can hold. And let me tell you, when you are truly qualified with the intensity of your step, you will be guided to the next step. And you don't need to search for guide.com. When that appropriate moment comes, that point, that turning point comes, the right person, the right guide will come to kick us into the next step. When I say the guide will come, don't anticipate that suddenly there will be a Babaji, long flowing beard and a little paunch, and then he comes and says, "Beta, touch." I go to the next time. You have watched too many movies on Purana. It could be somebody who will come and slap you at that moment. Then you wake up and go to the next level. See, in Buddha's life, after he left home, he left with a severe intensity. And he continued with that intensity for almost 16, 17 years. He said, I have not made an ounce of change in my life. That which I was seeking, I never got. That Bodh Gaya, that Bodhi Vriksha. So he was sitting there. And there was this kid whose father had taught him how to, or showed him how to make a pot. And right since the time that the father had taught, this kid sat on it and kept working at it, kept working at it. Many times he failed. He did not take a break for, I think I'm getting burnt out. Maybe I should take a break, come back and work at it. He didn't take a food break or nothing. He kept working at it so incessantly until he got the perfection in making what his father had taught. That is when he decided that the conviction that this kid has, probably I did not carry forward in my life with that conviction. So he decides right there, karyam va sadhayami, shariram va patayami. Ar ya par. Enough of toiling around with various venues, maybe here, maybe there, maybe this, maybe that, different techniques. I have wasted enough. Now if I understand various things right, unless I achieve that for which I have set my foot out, right here, right now, I am not moving out of this place. That kind of burning urge should be generated with him. Then you close your eyes, you directly reach to that samadhi. Once you are firmly abiding in that samadhi sthiti, what is the firmness of abidance? How do I test? That even when I open my eyes, what I look around, interact around, is no more plurality. You see only your extension, that Paramatma extending in the entire universe. There is no more called as universe, there is only Paramatma everywhere. That sthiti is called Jivan Mukti. Having reached which, Muchyate Jantuhu, the Jantu or the Jiva. Another way to look at it is, if you are Mukta, then you are Paramatma. Until you are Mukta, what are we? Jantu. Specialized Jantu with two legs, who can communicate also with each other. See, such beautiful, the step-by-step process has been explained. Continuing the next wave of thought. न सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपमस्य न चक्षुषा पश्यति कश्चनैनम् हृदा मनीषा मनसाभिक्लुप्तः य एतद्विदुरमृतास्ते भवन्ति न सन्दृशे तिष्ठति रूपमस्य. No one can see the form of that divine. See, meaning like what we see right now. Through these mortal eyes cannot be seen. Na chakshusha pashyati kaschanainam. Why? Because that form, we need a different medium to experience. Like they say, there are certain frequencies only that we can hear. There are other frequencies we can never ever hear. There are others, other jantu, which can hear the other frequencies, like the dogs, like the bats. They have a different frequency. We need that kind of ears to hear that frequency. Similarly, not that this is a frequency, but giving you an example, that form of divine cannot be perceived, and these eyes are not the medium to perceive. What do you require? That which is required is a mind which is balanced, accessible and balanced, and the intellect which is pure, carrying absolute clarity, subtle and ready. What does it mean? Ready? Sharp. Such prepared intellect, when sits on the seat of meditation, manasa abhikluptaha, abhikluptaha, that divine is revealed in that pure state. Very argumentatively we say, if God is everywhere, why don't I see it? It requires that kind of a means, that kind of a medium to perceive it, experience it. So my simple question to people who ask me that question is, do you know that, are you sure, or is there radio waves in this environment? I said, yes. How do you know? Oh, you bring a radio, tune it, you will know. Ah. Similarly, we require the right instrument. And what is the right instrument? We all have the intellect, but it has to be prepared right. To such prepared mind, to such prepared intellect, the Atman reveals itself. Ya etad viduhu amritaste bhavanti. Those who know this, amritaste bhavanti. First, knowing this, the impatience or the unnecessary impatience is removed. That agitative pattern of impatience is removed. You know, I have been sitting trying to do this and I don't think it is helping me. I don't know if I am going on the right track. I don't know. 5 years I have spent, nothing is happening. So when the impatience grows, what happens? Many sadhakas do this mistake. So every season, every spiritual season, there is somebody who gets to the height of a new wave. So maybe that technique will work, maybe this technique will work. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he tells very beautiful anecdotes. He says somebody, wanted a water source, well, in their backyard. He started digging. As he started digging, he found, a boulder. He said, maybe this is not a good spot. And then he went around, he saw a nice peepal tree in the backyard. So he said, under this shade, it will be really good. So he started digging there. Another 2-3 hours spent, 3-4 feet down, he saw that the roots were so thick that it was almost difficult to penetrate. He said, that is my bad. And then he went to the cornermost spot, right at the wall. He started digging. And within 1.5 or 2 feet of digging, he started seeing water. Water? Then the wife comes and says, whatever. It is not water. So she put a little stool near that wall. He said, what is it there? A sewer thing going. That is seeping in. So by the end of the day, after having spent solid 7-8 hours of digging, what did he have? 3 holes, 3 different corners. If he had constantly put that effort right there, right at the first place, patiently, he could have achieved what he was aiming for. Similarly, once you have understood this sequence, understood that the sequence is supported by flawless logic, and that I understand that logic clearly, start the sadhana implicitly without wavering from the path. So japa works? Yes. So after, there is this person who, Guruji normally, he has never given anybody japa initiation. But this person was sitting on his head, like eating him away. So please Swamiji, please Swamiji, please Swamiji. I said, okay, ja. And he gave him that mantra. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. 3 days later comes back. He says, Swamiji, कोई छोटा मंत्र नहीं है क्या? He couldn't even say mantra properly. छोटा मंत्र नहीं है क्या? And Guruji, if you can imagine his face, so after a few months he comes back. He says, now that I have started doing my japa as sadhana, what is next? वो करो. Spirituality and the process of sadhana is not to spice up the process, to understand the simplicity of process and have the conviction to consistently stick on it and keep doing it without wavering. And that wavering will come, that non-wavering nature will happen only when we have enough clarity based out of that understanding. I am not saying that you will understand everything, it is impossible. But the topmost various issues that we have, if they are clarified logically and we attain a certain clarity, the rest of it would also be right. You take it with that faith, you take it with that understanding, and then you stick to the process constantly, rain or shine, without losing the intensity, without losing that focus, without losing the momentum. Swamiji, when I started this process, I used to have, a lot of, the experience was divine. I don't know how else to put it, but the experience was divine. Nowadays I don't feel it. Where am I going wrong? The very expectation to feel something while doing sadhana is where you are going wrong. So earlier it was, very inspired. Nowadays I feel very mechanical. Even if it is mechanical, discipline the mind to continue the process. Don't slack back. Complacency in this field does not yield result. Having thus said, etad ya etad vidur amrutaste bhavanti. Re-emphasizes in the 10th mantra. It says, Yada panchavatishtante jnanani manasa saha buddhischa na vicheshtati tamahuh paramam gatim. What is the mark of recognition to say that I am on the right track of spiritual sadhana? You should find these markings. What are the markings? Yada panchavatishtante. The 5 organs of perception are resting at peace, but yet they are alert, ready and accessible. When I say resting at peace, it is not sleeping. Awake. But the itch to constantly keep running around is no more there. When I want that indriya to function in that field, that is when it will rush into that field, finish that job, come back. As a trained dog. See, there are dogs that are trained that I have seen. That you throw something. Usually when you throw a biscuit or the food, the dogs are very impatient. As soon as they say, some of these refined, trained dogs I have seen. The biscuit is sitting right in front of them. Their tongue is hanging out and you can see the drooling part. But will not touch unless instructed. Eat. You throw a ball. It runs, gets the ball, gives it to you, stands there. The indriyas should be such well oiled. Function in that field, withdraw from that field as soon as it is done and be at peace. Presently, there is an itch. This is it will almost be finished. What next? And these people cannot tolerate a vacant moment in their life. I have this, this 3-4 hours, I don't know what to do. So when there was somebody recently, it happened. Swamiji, I had 3-4 hours, I thought I'll come and see you. I said, you have a vacancy. And उस vacancy को भरने के लिए मेरा दिमाग ही मिला. You had to pick on my brains to fill your vacant moment. I said, I am busy. You may hang around for 3-4 hours, but I'll not have time to interact with you. Well, there is no lawn also. Then you can hang around. And then suddenly, after 20 minutes, Swamiji, I am getting bored. Did I take contact from you that, whenever you feel bored, I'll keep entertaining you? Go figure. See, the itch has to be gone. The eczema of restlessness has to be gone. Jnanani manasasaha. Jnanani is the first part. Manasasaha. Tishtante. The mind also is awake, alert, vigilant, available, accessible. Not complacent, not sleepy. And whenever the field is provided and you charge that mind into that direction, it accomplishes that job, finishes it, wraps up, comes back clean. Like, the task force. You send it to, everything has to be done, cleaned up, and then come back. Come back fresh. Until when? Until the next job is provided for. And there is nothing to do. What to do next? Rare is the moment when we have those pockets of solitude. Such a blissful moment to be by yourself, and wherein you don't even need to do anything, just be. So I am wasting my time. Yes, you are. You have the solitude moment. That is when there is no pressure, nothing that you are expected to run here, do something, nothing. Just be. Use that opportunity to just be. Buddhischana vicheshtati. And the buddhi never ever loses track of the goal. Navichestati, does not waver away, sticks to the goal. But in order to stick to that goal, we have to go through so many Upanishads, so many Bhashyas, so many times Bhagavad Gita, just to get that clarity and conviction that this is the path, the only path. Once that conviction is born, I tell you, you may be in the most sensuous environment. The food tickling, or various sense organs that their own fields that are tickling them. It does not even feel distracted. That was the state of Shuka Maharaj as soon as he was born. Navicheshtati, not distracted by anything, sticking focused only to that goal. We can't stick to one channel at a given time. Even after those 15 minutes of sticking to one channel, if there is advertisement, jump to another one. Right? We cannot do it. Staying multi-focused is not the solution, it is a distraction. I have to keep my mind occupied. That is the words to be used by somebody who has not even stepped on this, the peripherals of spirituality. Yeah, for them it sounds good. Or else the buddhi should have that constant glow of the goal, Never to forget that. Many a times what happens is when we start on a path, we start with lot of inspiration. Somewhere down the lane, we get distracted with many beautiful things. This is for those who have started sadhana. The distractions becomes, as you grow subtler, the distraction, even if it is small, it will be very overpowering. And we laugh. When we listen to the Ramayana story, we laugh at Vishwamitra. And we use it as a censuring ridicule. Oh, you are like Vishwamitra. We are nowhere close to Vishwamitra. His very texture of his mind was Rajasic. He was a Raja, Kshatriya. He turned the entire personality upside down, through which he has to go through so many hurdles. He went through those hurdles. What was the first one? Menaka? No, Urvashi. Urvashi, right? Was it Urvashi or Menaka? I blanked out. Vishwamitra. Menaka? Ha. So Menaka. He spent an awesome amount of time there. And suddenly something triggered, and then he said, where did I start and where did I land? Okay. Took permission, left, went back, again started. And then there was something politically motivated in that environment. Trishanku came by and he took it up as a challenge. There are many people, they come to instigate this politically charged environment. Swamiji, you should take a firm standpoint and put your foot down and say, "Theek hai." That is what you feel. Continue. I know what exactly I am here for. I know what exactly I have to accomplish. I am very happy with what I have to do. No, people like you should stand up and एक विश्वामित्र से सीखा बस है. So he spent the entire tapas shakti into benefiting that Trishanku. No sooner he did that, he said, arre. The first one was Kamini. The second one was Kirti. And by now he said, I'll leave everything. He went to the deepest corners of Himalayas. No contact with anybody. And then Indra sends Rambha again. And this time he said, I know why you have come for, turn into a stone. He got so angry with her. Again, Krodha, he lost it. And then he puts again tremendous amount of energy and resources into focusing on that one thing alone. And he became a Brahma Rishi. Ideal for a sadhaka. Few steps we take. And then we are also very impatient or unreasonably expecting. Swamiji, I have been doing this sadhana for 3 months, I don't see a change. Luckily for me that Amma's daughter, I think, daughter had gotten into medical school. I said, is your daughter already a doctor? She is in the first semester, Swamiji. It is a long way. 5 years he has to complete, then there is intern, no, what is it called? Residency, then there is specialization, then she gets the license. to be claimed as a doctor. To become a simple doctor in this world, in this mortal world, you have to spend that many hours of consistent effort only towards that. And how many days have you done sadhana? And how many days also is a wrong word to use. In those many days, how many minutes have you spent on sadhana? I've been consistently doing it for 15 minutes every day, Swamiji. Congratulations. I'm not ridiculing. Continue with it. Don't be unrealistically expecting a sudden miracle to bring in a change. Continue with it. That is the clarity that the intellect should hold. Come what may, that for which we have started on this path should never ever be forgotten. If at all we have to ask for anything, that is one thing as a blessings that we should ask. Tejas vadhi tamast. That tejas has to remain in my dhi. That glow of my clarity towards that purpose, towards that goal, may that remain in my dhi. Always. Such people, paramam gatim, are sure to get to that supreme state. And then further summing up of the rest of the thought, that we will see tomorrow. Final session. Kathopanishad. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.